What's up, YouTube? So before we get started with this video, on the Get Up, they're going to be talking about Zion Williamson and how apparently Zion or his mother took money from Nike when he was in high school. So let's see what they have to say about that.
I need to ask you about this thing that happened over the weekend involving Zion Williamson, because Duke did respond, and I think it's important that we let our audience know just how big a deal this is or isn't. Zion was named the Naismith Men's Player of the Year over the weekend, and then there is this controversy surrounding him. Duke is now looking into accusations made by attorney Michael Avenatti that Nike gave money to Zion's mother back when he was still a high school recruit. And as we were going through this in the meeting this morning, I think most people that are seeing this are just wondering, what should we make of these allegations? Is this a big deal? Avenatti obviously is a person of question. The source is questionable, to say the least. How big a deal should we be making of this?
So for me, just offhand, I've been waiting for haters to come on out and start talking about Zion, saying something negative about Zion. From what I'm thinking, just my opinion, I think it's some little haters, like from probably other schools that weren't able to sign Zion, or they got beat up by Zion and the Duke Blue Devils this year. So I'm thinking maybe UNC, Kansas, Kentucky, all the other big schools that weren't able to land Zion, or they got beat up by Zion. And I think they probably sent out their little investigators to do the little checks and balances on Duke to make sure Duke did everything they were supposed to do to get Zion, to make sure Zion wasn't taking any money, to make sure just anything they could find to mess up Duke's run and to mess up Zion Williamson, because they couldn't get him or they got beat up by Duke this year. That's what I'm kind of thinking, because there's nothing else real on. Zion's a good guy. He doesn't really get in trouble. He doesn't get in trouble. He doesn't do anything. So they sent out their little investigators to try and screw him over. So hopefully this isn't anything. And that's for one. For two, I hope that Zion's mother was not stupid enough to take money from Nike while he was in high school. He was ready to go to the NBA then. All he had to do was 1 year in college, then he can go to the NBA. So I hope she wasn't stupid enough to take money from Nike when all she had to do was wait 1 year. From what I hear, I don't think Zion was from the hood, and he's got 8 brothers and sisters, and his whole family starving. They're living in a tent somewhere in the woods. I think they could have managed to wait 1 more year to get millions of dollars. So I just don't think Zion's mother is stupid like that. I think this is all hearsay for some type of hater hating on Zion and Duke. So let's keep going, though.
Well, it is an important issue. How big of a deal we make of it, who knows? I mean, we got the biggest player in the game, and having an allegation like this, it is a big deal. But I think it's important to understand, and most people don't, that shoe companies have been paying AAU programs and providing money to AAU programs for years. And the NCAA and every school knows about it. They absolutely know about it. And so and this has been happening for years, you'd have parents involved with AAU programs. So as money's coming in to sponsor an AAU program, the shoe companies don't have complete control or authority over where that money goes, but they should know. And there was something kind of interesting over the Final Four week when Mark Emmert was interviewed. He was asked by an interviewer, do you plan on separating from shoe companies? And when I heard the question, I thought, well, that they're not going to do that. And Emmert said, no, of course not. We just want greater transparency and all that stuff. And I started really thinking about it, and then I go, wait a minute, why aren't these institutions and the NCAA separating from shoe companies? Why don't they buy their shoes like everybody else? Why are they treating the players as unpaid billboards for advertising for these companies for literally hundreds of millions of dollars over the system? And it's an interesting question. That's been a way, Greeny, that money has been funneled for a long time now, and it's seeing the light of day because of the FBI investigation.
All right, Jay.
So this is nothing new. This is nothing new at all. It seems like there's 2 problems here. So I think one problem that they're talking about is, should these basketball players be getting money because they're bringing so much money to the schools? Should they be paid instead of not being paid? And that's one issue. And the other issue is did Nike influence or give money to Zion to go to Duke? So I think one of them is not an argument, because that's not going to change with the players getting money and all that. That's not going to change while Zion is having this issue here. So anything that's happening is, did Zion take money from Nike to go to Duke? That's the problem here. And I don't think he did. I think he's smart enough. His family's smart enough to know that we just write out 1 more year. There's been too many stories. There's too many backlog issues throughout the years that this family knows. They should know that, wait 1 year, you're going to get that millions of dollars. Don't do anything stupid. Just ride this out. And I'm sure the Coach K told him too. Just ride this out. You could be one and done. After this, wait 8 or 9 months, and you'll be in the NBA. So let's keep going.
Well, so well done on this and everything. Thank you, my friend. We'll see you tomorrow as, again, tonight, the national championship there in Minneapolis. I want to take this out to the table because both of you are connected in the ways that you are to college basketball. I'll ask you first, just your thought on what Jay just said and in general, Zion, the biggest star we've seen in college basketball in a really long time, now having his name involved in something like this.
It doesn't surprise me at all. I mean, you'd have to have your head in the sand to not realize that, as Jay mentioned, these AAU programs, they're all funded by these shoe companies. Let's go back. Marvin Bagley's dad started a club team just for Marvin Bagley. Nike funded it. We talked about this. We know this. This isn't a surprise. So this is a way to influence. There's no question it's a way of influence. Go back and look over the last 15 years in college basketball. Take the top 25 recruits. Go figure out who sponsored their AAU program. And I promise you, we're at a 90% success rate that the college that they attended was the same one, sponsored by the same program that was the shoe company that sponsored their AAU.
Well, that's not really a big issue because all the top schools are really only sponsored by a couple of sponsors. What, Nike, Adidas, and Reeboks. That's pretty much it. I've never seen any school sponsored by Pro Wings. I've never seen a school sponsored by XJ9000s. Okay? None of these good schools are going to be sponsored by garbage shoe brands. So, of course, all the top 25 players are going to go to the top 25 schools that have the top 3 brands. So to say if is Nike influencing kids? Of course they are, especially if you're a Nike head. I'm a Nike head. And I heard if you're an Oregon Duck, you get Nike gear for life. Now, you may not be getting $1,000 every year of your life free of Nike gear, but you might get a pair of shoes, 2 pairs of shoes, maybe 2 pairs of pants or shorts, maybe 2 shirts or something like that a year for the rest of your life. That's huge, especially if you're a Nike head like me. That would influence me to be an Oregon Duck. Now, Nike didn't give me anything. Nike doesn't give the players anything, but it's a good influencer, which, from my understanding, is not illegal. Just like these players go to these Nike camps, Adidas camps, Reebok camps. Of course, they're influencing them. Come to this school. You get all the Nike gear you want. Come to that school. You can have Adidas. It's a good program, yada, yada, yada. Of course, I have no doubt that they did that. Now, did Nike give Zion money? That's where the problems come into play. But as far as schools influencing kids with their brands, of course they do. Of course. You can influence me with the brand of being a USC Trojan. You could be a Trojan. You could do this and that. You can be part of USC or whatever school. Of course they're influencing it. So let's keep going.
Program. It's just the way that it's gone in the business. We're just peeling back the layers.
Is it a problem, though? I guess what I'm asking is what we're describing here a bad thing?
Sure. But I mean, to the point
where what is bad? I mean, I'm always looking when I'm.
But because you're influencing kids, you're influencing where maybe kids will go to school.
But is that a bad thing? That's what I'm asking. Who's the victim here?
I don't think the parents are the victim. I don't think the players are the victim. I think the system is what's wrong. And if you think about money going to from shoe companies going to specific, the lines are blurred because family members want to take care of their own players, their own kids, and then also you connect the dots all the way up to the pros. It's funny. A lot of these college schools. I went to a Nike school. I signed Nike, and then I crossed over to Adidas. And I've had a personal stake in this because one of the guys that got hung up in the Adidas investigation was the guy that signed me to Adidas. A great guy. He was a champion for women's athletics, but he just understood that this is how it's been for so long. His name was Jim Gatto. And if you think about the big scheme of things, I'm not going to penalize the players because the players deserve money. They deserve to have their livelihoods bettered by getting this opportunity to play at the next level, whether it's in college or in the pros. But I do think the system is rigged. The system is rigged to the benefit, and exploitation of players. But why not?
Well, and here's the issue.
Well, some of the problem is, like I said, there's 2 issues here. Is the issue, should players be paid in college because they generate so much money? And the other issue is, did Nike influence Zion Williamson and give him money to sign with the Nike school? That's 2 different issues. One issue is not going to be taken care of by the time Zion Williamson is out of college and into the pros, which would be, can you pay college athletes? That's not going to be resolved. What can be taken care of is, did Zion take money from Nike to go to Duke? Was he influenced? That's the issue here. That's the major issue. Now, if Nike only influenced Zion by saying, come to the school, we'll give you shoes and, everything legally, that's fine. Because how else do you get somebody to do something or come to your school? You have to influence them, but you don't give them money or give them cars or things of that nature. So that's where the problem lies. So let's keep going.
Thing that Jay just said about Mark Emmert going, are you going to, separate from the shoe companies and try to limit their sphere of influence here? No. Why? Because at the end of the day, it comes back to the same thing that it always comes back to. Money.
And the point that I would like to make in this, and we have to move on to other matters, and I know that people sometimes get tired of hearing this conversation. What we have done is criminalized behavior there was no victim of, right? This is the FBI looking into things, but the only reason these are crimes is